We're giving people a few extra minutes. I see there's still a few trickling in, but thank you everybody for being here today. Uh, I'm just doing a general welcome. I think most of you, or at least some of you, were here for the last one, and so for anybody who's new, welcome to the Southeastern Archives Association as we try and figure out what we're doing. So today we're going to talk about our governance structure. And Jay is going to get into our ideas for how we're going to do that. Please bear in mind that this was just three of us kind of rolling around our thoughts. And so if you have any objections, suggestions, and so on, please let us know. We are serious about, we would like feedback and approval and buy-in from as many people as possible, because we want this organization to work, and for people to feel included and connected and like everything is balanced properly. Okay, so I will stop rambling and let Jay talk.
Thanks, Jennifer. For those non-Florida folks and folks who weren't here last month, my name is Jay Silvestri, a Special Collections Librarian at the University of Miami. Jennifer McGillen and I, along with Vic Jones, who we are missing today, I think due to a campus-wide internet outage, and I will speak for Jennifer as well, that we were going to make Vic do most of the talking today. So when she comes in, she'll pick up wherever we were. But one of the things we discussed as a group was that we wanted to make sure the governance structure of SEAA respected state organizations and didn't kind of instill too much power in any one of the 7 states in the organization, so that we all felt that the state needs were respected, that we all had an equal voice in the organization. So to that end, we are proposing to have a relatively standard committee structure with a president, vice president, president-elect, past president, and secretary, making up sort of the executive committee. And then we'd have a council of state representatives where each state would have 1 representative. The responsibilities of each of these positions are still up for a lot of discussion. We have sort of thought initially that the president would be responsible for organizing virtual meetings of SEAA, along with someday more formal unconference or conference meetings. The vice president would be responsible for managing or chairing the social media committee. We see this organization as a large geographic group, as one that will correspond and keep in touch a lot virtually, especially through social media, through our Google group and through Twitter, but also to give people a chance for more committee work and professional development. We didn't want the VP to necessarily have to do all of that, just be the coordinating person. At the moment, we envision the state representatives as having responsibilities of liaisoning with their state organizations and any local organizations within the state. They would take care of reposting from state listservs to SEAA listservs, and then would also be voting on the executive committee. Beyond that, we are open to discussion for roles and responsibilities. That's sort of a quick overview. We are also open to knowing if people want to propose a different kind of executive structure. So just to kind of get an idea of where everyone is at, I'm going to launch this poll to get a sense of if the president, vice president, secretary, and state reps make sense to everyone, if we want to do something different, or if what I've said makes no sense and we don't want to do it at all. We'll give everyone a few minutes to fill out the poll.
Jay, can I ask a question? Because I thought that this structure, the membership structure, was going to be individual. Here, let me turn my video. That it was going to be individual membership. Is that, or is it going to be state organizations memberships?
It will be individual memberships, but we wanted to make sure that as the regional group, we have some kind of connection to the state boards.
Okay.
And I see, does that answer your question, Lorraine, or did you want more about that?
It does. I'm just trying to envision it.
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking of a more formal sort of committee structure so that SEAA has the ability to do things where we can, we can do a non-conference, we can do, and this is something we'll discuss a little bit later, whether it's a monthly Zoom meeting, just so there's someone who is kind of in charge of organizing things across the region.
Yes, yes. With individual memberships, I think a lot is going to be driven, as far as like feeling like the states are balanced. I mean, some of that will be driven, I think, by population. I think it'll be hard to get around that, but I think it is a good goal, obviously, to have everyone engaged.
And one of the things I wanted to mention, and something we discussed, is that the president, vice president, secretary, and ideally past president would never be from the same state. I mean, at the very least, we want to make sure we always limit the president, vice president, and secretary to not being from the same state, so that every state has an opportunity to have some one of their members or one of their archivists reflected in the leadership structure of SEAA.
Okay.
I see a couple questions in the chat. The 7 states mentioned. For some reason, I had been counting 5 repeatedly in my meetings with Jennifer and Vic, but it's North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, and Florida. That's the states that we're working with for the region. Jennifer, that's right? That's what we've discussed. And then
wait, sorry, I muted myself. Did you say Louisiana?
I did.
Okay. I think we were open to Louisiana if Louisiana wanted to come, but yes, other than that, it was Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. Yeah, because Virginia's goes with Merrick. Yes. Okay. Yeah, Mary. Yeah, Mary has it in the chat.
Had we not also discussed Tennessee?
Oh, probably. Yes. Sorry.
I do know Louisiana is part of the Southwestern Archives Association. Like, I think they're hosting the meeting next year. The one time I've been, they hosted it.
Okay, and Dean, he asked about treasurer. We have not yet created the position of treasurer because we're not anticipating handling any money. And if we ever do collect dues, then at that point we would have to create a treasurer. But for right now, we weren't thinking about doing that. Yeah, as long as we are not having any dues, then we weren't going to have a treasurer.
And in addition to not having dues, given the size of the region and the length of time it takes for me to get out of Southern Florida to another state, by and large, and also because of COVID and the ongoing pandemic, all of our meetings and activities will be virtual for the foreseeable future. And for me, that's probably 3 to 5 years. So given that many of us have institutional capabilities for Zoom and other platforms, there's not necessarily need to raise money for facility rentals or other things we might need to pay for.
I have a question about the organizational structure. So we want to make sure that there's all the states represented. Are we going to try to make sure that there's some kind of contact with or liaising with the leaderships of the different organizations, the Southern, whatever, the organizations, regionals of the other, like almost like could there be like a board of presidents that are not necessarily members or not like leadership, but someone that you contact? Because I can see there being a lot of overlap of projects, a lot of overlap of work, and I want to make sure that that kind of gets avoided, or competition, I don't know. Does that make sense, or am I?
So you're asking if we'll have direct contact with state archival group leadership?
Yeah.
I think ideally that's what the state reps would do, but I think within the structure we can work to define sort of who's responsible for contacting state leadership versus who's responsible for making sure activities in the state get funneled back through SEAA through the listserv here.
I mean, we do want to establish, at least I would like to, that the state rep should not be the president of the state organization, because what I learned being part of RAC is that when the RAC rep was the president of the organization, when something had to give, what gave was RAC. And it was very, very hard for people to run a state organization and be part or be active in a larger thing at the same time. Now in Mississippi, the president's role is, a lot of it is planning the conference, the annual conference. So that requires a lot of time and energy and focus. So, and also the state presidents tend to change every year. So it means that we were, like, RAC was in a constant state of trying to figure out who was in charge. And if you had someone who was not in that sort of constant roller coaster, then it was a lot easier for consistency to have. Yeah, Mary, thank you for sharing the expectations. So that's why we were not envisioning having the state rep be the state president.
Yeah,
but I agree, having that connection with the leadership of the state organizations is important. So that's why I wanted to, like I said, I'm only speaking for me here. What I had wanted to do was to have somebody to represent the state who was a part of their state organization, and maybe so that person would know who the president is, and can anything that we want the state organizations to chew over and get back to us with their opinion on, to funnel it that way.
I suppose my question, as I rambled on, as you spoke, it became a little more clear in my head. My question would be more of a, in order to make things more efficient and make sure that we're not in competition or anything, that there is, maybe instead of having some kind of board or structured thing, that there is some kind of communication line between this organization and the regionals, maybe like a bi-month or a, every other month meeting. So everyone is kind of kept together. And that, I think, will actually help build relationships between the organizations too. But I think I'm getting ahead of this conversation, so I'm gonna.
Okay.
It sounds like a 2021 activity, so we'll come back to that. Gary, I know you had your hand up.
So maybe, I don't know, somebody's saying is it elected or appointed. However that is, maybe if you reach out to the state organizations and say, this is what we're doing, and we would like whoever represents Florida or Georgia to have a communication method with the state organization. And that way, maybe it's the, maybe the person who's elected or appointed is already part of the state organization, maybe not, but there is a line of communication that it's expected.
Okay, yeah, I think that would work. What I tend to fall back to is how RAC does it, in that RAC says to the state orgs, we need you to pick somebody. We don't care who it is, but pick somebody. And when I was doing RAC, that was when we created the requirement that whoever you nominate to be your RAC rep cannot be the same person trying to run the organization. So that's really my feelings on it. That how the RAC terms, I think they were 3 years. The RAC is a regional archives. Oh, Mary, I'm going to get it wrong. What is it? Regional Archives Association Consortium?
Archival, but
Archival, okay.
Yeah.
Which is a national group of regional groups. Oh, yes, through SAA. RAC is sort of loosely affiliated with SAA. you can join that way.
If I may, RAC just opened up its membership last year in the last 6 months. You can join through an SIA listserv. We have a MOU with SIA, so while we use a lot of their services, their website, their listserv, we are not necessarily a part of SIA, so anyone can join. But we do try to have a representative from each regional group, and those are the official RAC representatives. But we have opened it up to anyone that wants to join. Thank you.
So RAC connects all the regional groups into one thing. And we would, this would create sort of another, another larger regional group. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but, or rambling or something, but this would add a layer, but so we would be between like RAC, us, and then the regional groups, or the state groups rather. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Okay.
And so
then
sorry, Jennifer.
I'm like reading things in the chat. Okay, we are using the term board for now. The executive leadership, I think we were planning to do elections.
Yes, yeah, I mean, I think we seem like we've agreed on the structure, so I think one of the next steps would be to determine roles and responsibilities, nomination process, and then election process as a 2021 goal.
Okay, and then so yeah, I think all of the board members would be voting members.
Yeah, that's how I understood that we were thinking. So the state reps and then the other positions would all have a vote when we have meetings.
Okay. Oh, okay. So Vic's here.
Hey Vic, hi Vic, glad you made it.
I'm so sorry, guys. We had like a massive ransomware issue at our university. And none of the computers and like the internet's all wonky, but I also live on campus. So, or like on campus property. So it's been kind of a mess. I'm so sorry.
That's all right, you're here. We are going through our discussion of the executive committee, and we can catch you up on it later. Question in the chat about defining membership before the nomination process. We are defining membership as everyone who's in the listserv, and we can certainly make another call for listserv signups before we formally open any kind of nomination process to make sure anyone who's potentially interested in running for SEAA elections is eligible to participate. So I think as a next step, and I don't think it's something we need to get into here, but if you are interested in working to create roles and responsibilities and work through the election and nomination process, either put your name in the chat, send me, Jennifer, or Vic a private message, and that way we'll get a committee together, and probably we'll also put this on the listserv as an open call. And we can figure out when next year we will have elections for the first round of officers.
Okay. And I know we've had some people already say that they were willing to help out with organizational work, so we could add them to our pot of volunteers. I think that would work. And we could also send out another call and say, anybody else, we are now like officially doing the organizing. If you want to assist, let us know. All right. Um, so we want to talk about our 2021 plans.
Yeah, Vic, do you want to take this part?
You're muted, Vic.
I'm always muted. Yeah, so we wanted to, as even though we're still working on organizing, started to sort of brainstorming ideas that we could start doing for next year. And so I'm pulling up my notes as I'm speaking, but like some of the ideas that we had was like doing sort of like monthly meetings. I feel like a lot of like regional associations and even like specific groups have done something similar, but sort of an opportunity to have conversations about what's going on and what we're doing in the moment, and also just to sort of get to know each other, one another a bit better, to sort of like help facilitate like collaboration projects that people might be interested in. And so doing those like once a month or something like that was one of the ideas that we had. In addition, I know like the Society of Mississippi Archivists has been doing table talks, and on Fridays, or like once a month on Fridays, and they've been really cool. And something like that might be something that we could do to sort of like share what practices that people are doing as well as research. We discussed having a sort of like summer unconference in some way, shape, or form, as well as like professional development opportunities, maybe some like student and mentor opportunities. And then, like we mentioned, this sort of like open house hangout session. So.
I know there were some people who were specifically interested in talking more about teaching with primary sources. Some people who wanted to talk about digital projects and collaboration. The sort of ongoing COVID discussion also, I think, would be good to revisit at some point. So those are kind of our top three on our list of possible subject-specific meetings to have. So anything else?
It sounded like, Laura, you had something that might be good for 2021. It sounded like you were proposing some regular or a series of meetings between state organization leaderships and the whatever board becomes elected for SEAA. Sorry, Laura, you're muted.
I find I'm always muted when I shouldn't be and unmuted when I should be. No, yeah, some way of making sure that there's communication, because this is an overlapping group with the regional organizations. I mean, doing something completely different, but still overlapping, that I think there should be a lot of communication, just contact. And it's a simple email saying this is what we're planning on doing. I think it'd be good to be able to use each other to really highlight what the work is going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly one of our goals with this org, is just keeping in touch with everyone who's nearby and might be working on the same thing. So I'm glad that you brought the sort of organizational perspective. And I think we talked about this just a little bit, maybe with just around volunteering to figure out the executive committee positions. But I think one of the things we could have as a goal for 2021 also are establishing committees. I discussed briefly sort of a social media committee, someone who would be responsible for Twitter, to probably be chaired by the vice president. But there are, as Jennifer mentioned, a lot of interest among people in this group for different things. And we can have sort of standing or ad hoc or informal committees of people who are helping organize people into different groups to get in touch and talk about what's interesting to them.
Yeah. Is there anything like specific you all think that you would personally like to see come out of this group within, but that is feasible, you think would be feasible, like within the next like 3-6 months? Oh, a membership directory, that's a really great idea.
I can't remember if we talked about this the last meeting or not. My memory's a little fuzzy. Did we talk about having tracks, like a college and university archives track, or subgroup, like a public archives, government archives, church archives? I can't remember if we had talked about that or not, but that might also be either a good thing for smaller groups, or to maybe even add as part of like an advisory group for the executive board, just to toss that out there.
We did talk about tracks, and yes, I also think that would be useful to get feedback from those groups to the advisory committee. Maybe we can make committee, well, I don't want to have too many committees. All right. It'll be endless arrays of committees, but we will think about it and figure it out. Committee, policing committee, oh God, no. I don't know how many archivists we have from each state.
I don't have an up-to-date one with people who've joined like in the last couple of weeks, but if that's definitely something we can start keeping track of, especially with the idea of a membership directory. I think that would help as well.
And I'm wondering, Carity, with the membership directory, I took your comment as for this organization, but also are we thinking trying to congregate the membership directories for the region as well, so that we have sort of all of the state orgs in one place too? Yes. Okay, so both.
Yeah, so in the chat, Jill was mentioning they've attended boards where they're advised to reduce committees. I worked somewhere once where the board for the organization was like 27 people and it was out of control. So that's why I'm like, that's not, no, we don't have too many committees or too many people on the committee, because that is just a mess. But yes, it's the master directory of all the archivists, archives, and state orgs, definitely.
Well, I asked the question about how many people in each state, just because, do you have 27 people in 25 committees? Maybe have some themes of like college and university archivists are going to talk the third week of every fourth month at such and such time. And people who are interested in local genealogy can meet the first Tuesday of, and do it that way. And that way you're bringing like-minded people together. And if you spread them out, I can go to every which one I want to, might be a suggestion.
Yeah, I certainly like the idea of empowering people to use this org as an organization, as an organizing point to then jump off into their areas of interest, rather than having everything be kind of formalized and rigid in its structure.
To Dean's question, I mean, I say yes. At this point, especially since there's no membership dues and you kind of just sign up, all you need is an email. I would definitely encourage people from like not in like traditional archivist roles to join and participate and like give us their thoughts and feedback as well. Yes, archives adjacent. That's the phrase I needed. I think this is really a very like low stakes way to sort of participate without having to like shell out a significant amount of like time and money. So yeah, I think if we can get people all sort of thinking about it's kind of the same thing, but maybe with tons of different perspectives, it's always the best, in my opinion, sometimes.
Certainly, as a free group, we should be open to everyone who works with archival materials in any sense of their job. So yeah, I fully agree. And then I do want to point out there was a comment from Angela a little bit ago saying that it would be helpful to put out on the listserv that everyone is officially members and that this is a free organization. I think this is something that we might have discussed in the first meeting, but the listserv has certainly grown since then. And I think as we are formalizing the organization, and I mean, personally, I think we can say that we now exist, certainly letting everyone know that they are members and that membership is free.
I am also in agreement that we should reach out to and include the archives adjacent folks. We also, I mean, I also do a certain amount of outreach and communication with them to talk about archival procedures. So, and it does definitely give them a place to ask questions, and that's what we want. So.
Yeah.
And I mean, students and early career professionals are also very welcome. And I think with the table talks, that would be a place where students could present research if they wanted to, or if they have particular topics that they would like people to talk about, if they wanted to do something on, you know, how did you get to the archives? How did you plan your career? I mean, my answer to how did you plan your career would be I didn't. But other people have different answers to that. Or if they wanted to, you know, to hear about specific things to do to follow a particular career path. Like if you're in library school and you know you want to be an academic archivist, what do you have to do to get there? And have academic archivists talk about that. I think that's definitely something we could do.
Yes. I also would love to see like students, especially like MLIS students, or other, I'm saying that mostly because of age, not so much because I don't trust undergrads or anything like that, but to also like sort of taking an active role. I feel like sometimes students don't feel like they're allowed to. I know I never felt like that. I still don't really feel like that, but I would love to see that as well.
We have a comment about flyers. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll need to develop some promotional material. We now have a YouTube channel. We have a Twitter account. Jennifer will be working on a Facebook page. But yeah, we should also have some material we can share or that you can print and distribute to get more people interested.
I'm going to try and I've got some lawn work going, so and try and talk around that. Basically, like, so we have the SNAP section, and it's kind of like its own individual, you know, group in SAA, and I'm wondering, because there is that overlap, and a lot of the new students and a lot of the new professionals, you know, are in other groups as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, well, if you wanted to talk to, say, like the DAM group about something, but you're a student or a new professional, who would you talk to in that group? So it almost would be kind of like a liaison instead of having an actual like one SNAP group, to have someone in each like section or group or whatever they end up being, to be like, well, this is your student liaison for this group, so go talk to this person. So it's just maybe a little bit more identified. Yes, absolutely. I love SMEs. That's one of my favorite. Yes.
What's SME?
Subject matter expert.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So like when I did the engineering archive, the SMEs are all the engineering students, and I go, I can't read this. And then, but I'll tell them where to put it. So.
And maybe depending on how we create the membership directory, this is something that can also be identified there. So people can go and look and say, I have a question about, and I'm going to talk to so-and-so.
Ooh, yes. Yes, all of that.
And for the directory, I'm trying to, like, what kind of information other than, I mean, obviously, like, name, like, affiliated institution and, like, email, like, what other kind of, like, information would you guys feel that is maybe not always shared, but that would be really helpful? Like, I guess I feel like knowing what, like, area of archive someone works in, what I would think would be helpful. Years in profession. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
A directory would be really great, but do you need a professional level software system, or can it be done on the free and the fly?
My initial thought was making like a Google sheet that is locked. So it can't be, like, you can view it, but you can't edit it. That might not be the best, but that's the only thing I could think of.
I mean, certainly it's the lowest tech way, and you can identify the fields, and it can be, can you have a sheet that's locked but still sortable? That might be a question to not get into now, but I think that would just be one thing we might want to consider, that if you are looking for someone who's been in the field for like 4 years and you can sort the table in Google Sheet, but that's something we can get into later.
Okay.
Thanks, Sarah. That's good to know.
If people, I think the next easy thing that we sort of talked about for planning are these sort of like monthly, I'm gonna call them chit chats, just because I like that. Would be like the next easiest thing to set up because it's just a Zoom session. If we did that, would you guys like it sort of be a free for all or like a general topic? And if so, do you have any topic suggestions? Basically asking you guys to do all the work for us, but.
I'm going to ask Mary Rubin specifically to respond to this, just because, Mary, in our discussions, I was modeling this on the SFA Zoom Hangouts that you've been doing. And maybe if you want to just talk about your experience getting topic suggestions from people, since that's what we're asking for right now.
I put it through emails, so that's how I got topic suggestions. The first thing that came to mind for this topic would be current projects. And I think Carity also mentioned that as a directory idea, but I think that would be a good idea for talking about. I wish I had a better answer for you, Jay.
No, that's good. Thank you. Mostly, I was also just wondering if you found it easy to generate topic ideas, if you found people have a lot of ideas and have enough to fill the meetings.
I mentioned just email, but also they came up during the, we call them SFA Zoom lounges, but so, and I've done it from lounge to lounge, so I've only ever had one topic at a time come up.
And one thing I would like to know more about is what everyone's COVID plan is for the spring, because we kind of all got through the fall, and just to sort of see where we are and where we think we're going. Mississippi State Health Officer just said everyone stay home unless it is, urgent work business. But we are not under official state lockdown. So that's like one disconnect. But like Mississippi State is pushing for more face-to-face class and less telework, and kind of pushing everyone back into the office at the same time that this is happening. So having and I have been going to regional meetings for other states. Apparently, that's a thing that I like to do, is go to people's archival meetings. And in the Northeast, they're kind of sort of starting to think about going back into the office. So they're all in a very different position. So it would be interesting to me to hear, are people making changes? Are they trying to, here we're doing everything we can to hang on to the status quo, but in a more regional way, to hear what people are doing, things that we've all learned from this, things that worked, things that didn't, things that had to get changed on the fly, and what they're getting and hearing from their management. I know at the same time, probably everyone is really sick to the back teeth of hearing about COVID, but but
on that note, if I may add, the SFA Zoom lounges have only had 12 people at max, so that's been very manageable. So if we do have, say, 26 people show up to the SEAA, it might be good to have 2 themes and breakout rooms, that kind of thing.
Okay. Right. So if you're sick to the back teeth of COVID and you would like to talk about your more recent projects, you can feel free to do that. But yes, that's something that I'm curious about. What's happening in other states, what's happening elsewhere in Mississippi, that kind of thing. And standing breakout room in every session for critter pictures. Definitely.
That could just be something that, as meeting host, I can spotlight whichever video has a critter, so make sure that we're all seeing them. So we are at 2:45, and in our first meeting, one of our stated goals for all SEAA meetings is to come in under an hour. So I think moving into final thoughts, if we want to agree as this group, I know I am certainly on board with Jennifer and COVID plans for the spring as kind of the first SEAA hangout topic. We don't necessarily have to agree to that now, but that could be something that gets on the calendar for January.
We could have 2 topics, one COVID and the other one being not COVID. COVID and not COVID. Choose your own adventure.
I hesitate to suggest this, but should we set a deadline for trying to establish the board? So that way members and marketing can go out, or marketing around membership can go out.
Yes, we should.
End of December, end of this semester?
So should we aim for the end of the month to have the plan in place for elections, or to have everything finalized by then?
I think we could just aim to have a plan, and so that we give people another 2 or 3 weeks to percolate out the information and sign up, and then our first act of the new year can be electing officers.
That sounds reasonable. Plan by the end of the month, and that's what I'm seeing in the chat as well.
We'll say the 30th. Is that fair?
Seaside chats, that would work. Instead of fireside chats, we'll have seaside chats.
I'm terrible at naming the things, but I got really excited and real proud of myself on that one. And then after I put it in there, I was like, well, this is why I don't get to name things at work.
Those are always the best kind of ideas.
Do you think that is too quick of a turnaround with the SAA positions running concurrently or the voting happening?
I think we can have the plan together by the end of the month, and then SAA will clear, and then in January we can do the votes, or we can start the nomination process.
The only thing that I will say about the end of December is that I know at least here at UF we're closed from the 26th through basically New Year's Day. So I don't know how many other institutions in the region close. People are going, hopefully, just staying home. So I don't know if people rely on their work computers to have meetings and things. They may not be able to participate. So it might be better to say maybe mid-January to have a plan as the deadline, unless you really want to crunch in the next like 2 weeks to get one done before like the 21st. I hate to be the monkey wrench in the plans here.
That's good.
I mean, aiming for mid-January functionally gives us a month of work with the holiday break, so that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to say plan by January 13th? After the 3-day weekend. So would that be the 20th? I can't,
Yes.
I don't know when. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was Martin Luther King Day is the 18th.
Okay, and then we can have voting nominations by mid-February.
Sounds good.
Like the whole process would be complete by mid-February. It's not too bad.
Is that 2 weeks for nominations and then 2 weeks for voting? Maybe 3 weeks for voting for the 1 week getting everything together for after the nominations?
I had not broken it down. I just figured a month was enough. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I have no strong feelings for whether we did 2 and 2 or 3 and 1. I don't have a preference.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks to vote is good.
Okay. So we'd have our plan done by the 20th. Give people maybe till the 29th. Well, yeah, 29th or the 30th, the end of the month to nominate. And then you'd have the first 2 weeks of February to vote.
Yeah, I think that would work.
And announce on February 16th. Cool. Awesome, y'all.
I'm spotlighting Sarah, who is showing her cat.
Yay!
Speaking of critters. They speak of critters. She's not very happy because she just wanted pets. She didn't want to be held. But this is Zoe. Say hi, Zoe. Say hi to everybody. She loves being on camera. Yes, okay. Most days she loves being on camera. So she's being shy today.
Well, she wasn't expecting to be.
So pardon my messy house, but yeah.
No, it's sense.
Thank you for sharing, Sarah.
Not a problem.
All right. Okay, so are we done? 153, 150, 154?
And end it with the cat. I think that feels good.
Okay. All right. Thank you everybody for coming today. If you have any further questions, points to discuss, please feel free to share them with us or with the group, and we'll get rolling on making a plan.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.